Hey everyone, this is Zach at FF Chalupa Batman, part of the Triple Play Fantasy family. This is Beyond the Analyst series. This is episode number 10. Really excited for our next guest. It is Chris Robin at Detroit Beastie. How's it going today, Chris?
Good, thanks for having me. I know you, Chalupa Batman. I was waiting for you to change it to like cheesy gordita crunch Batman. That's my go-to at Taco Bell. This is a treat. Thanks for having me. Rarely am I ever asked to talk about stuff that's not DFS or it's not sports. So it's nice to just sit down, rest, relax. I don't have a pen. I don't have any notes in front of me. It's kind of like freeing, to record just as we see it as we go along here. So once again, thanks for having me.
Happy to have you here. So, for those of you who don't know Chris, I hope you already do, but he's a DFS analyst for Team Rise or Fall and the Woodward Sports Network as well. And as he talked about, we're not talking about fantasy takes today. I know you're famous for your sheet of paper as you get ready for your DFS picks, but we're going to save those for another time. Today is just really all about you, getting to know you a little bit more. And honestly, uh, I wanted to kind of change this show up a little bit for episode number 10 and talk a little more about mental health awareness because I know you're such a big proponent of it. So while we get to know you a little bit more, I kind of wanted to highlight that in my question. So if you're okay, I wanted to kick it off.
Yeah, absolutely. I've told you and anybody else that would listen or anybody that reaches out and asks me. I think it's good for me just to be an open book, right? No, there's nothing off limits. I told you that several times when we were talking to set this thing up. But hey, that's what works for me. I'm not trying to push my ideals or my attitudes on everybody else. But me, I like to be an open book. I like to get things out in the open. I like to talk about it, and dig through all that stuff. That's what works best for me. So this is, again, this is exciting. Just sit down and chat a little bit. Little therapy session, if I might say so, Zach.
I appreciate it. So, as we said, you're a big proponent of mental health awareness. So, what do you think was a defining moment for you that has put you on the path that you're on now?
Well, it's without a doubt, it's my sobriety, right? I've again made no secret about that, right? So I struggle with opiates, right? Pills, pain medication, all that stuff, and if I could eat it, snort it, all that stuff, that was me. And I don't want to be too graphic, but you understand what I'm getting at here. So everything from start to finish, figuring out that, oh my God, pain medicine is outstanding. I can't live without pain medicine, and all the disadvantages and all the bad things that I did, stealing and lying and just being a jerk straight up, and then knowing that, you know what, Chris, you cannot go through, you won't last any longer. That when you go to a support group meeting, they say there's only three options: jails, institutions, or death, right? And death is death, jail is jail, institutions are treatment centers, psychiatric wards, things along those lines. So to me, that was a defining moment. The defining moment, to be honest with you, Zach, was when I was in treatment. I've gone to a residential treatment center way back when, and I, sicker than a dog, trying to kick the opiates here. That was my defining moment. What are you just going to kind of slink out of here, sneak out of treatment, and go back to the streets and living under bridges? I was homeless as well. Or you going to take the advice and the love and everything from your parents and your friends and get right and get sober and kind of spin this to your advantage? Because as a recovering addict, or even when I was in active using, I could spin anything to my advantage. So now, I always said years ago, if I could kind of harness the way, the drive and the effort, that the lengths I would go to find my next fix, if I could spin that to my advantage for the positive side of things, maybe I might have something going here, and boom, here we are using DFS and spinning that to my advantage now, rather than opiates and drugs along those lines.
I appreciate you sharing that. Now, kind of not to take it away from mental health, but kind of spinning it towards fantasy a little bit as well. Do you feel like DFS, specifically that format, kind of helps channel what you're talking about more than maybe like redraft or dynasty?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And I've been playing fantasy football since, I believe, like I was in fifth grade, 1995, all the way back then. I'll be 38 next month here, and that it is what it is. You can't help but aging here. But to me, dynasty and seasonal fantasy sports, what they were outstanding. But at the time, DFS was something new. We're talking like 2010, 2009, the inception of FanDuel here, and it was a way for me to kind of get things out. As I said at the opening of the broadcast here, here. That's just the kind of guy I am. I don't know if that means I'm sensitive or if that means I'm weird or dull. I don't know here, but I've always liked to, I don't like to go to bed with any secrets. I don't like to go to bed with like anything festering here in my chest or in my mind. You hear a lot of folks say, I can't turn my brain off. It's like a hamster running in a wheel in my head here. The way that I get through the day is I have a pen or pencil on me at every time, every moment in time, and I write everything down. And before DFS came along, I was writing down my thoughts, my ideas. It's not like I was writing poems or books. It's just short little sentences or words that came to my mind. And now with DFS, I've shown you my notebooks. It's what's special to me. In a way, I had no idea that my notes and sending photos of all that DFS stuff would kind of not set me apart per se, but people would go, oh yeah, the note guy, that's Chris. And that's just the old honest me. I write everything down so I don't keep it inside my mind, because then boom, I'm off on a tangent if I keep too much stuff inside of me, or God forbid something bad and I go down that that road again where I'm using and I'm drinking and all that. So to me, writing stuff down has always been my go-to. And again, I happen to just channel it towards the good, spin my notes to my advantage here, Zach.
No, that's great to hear. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I remember seeing you on Twitter with posting the notes, and I thought it was a fun and creative way to show off what you're doing. Because I mean, there's a lot on the page because you're looking at a lot of stuff. You're checking out a lot of stats and trying to figure out what the best plays are. So I thought it was fun just putting together that way. Hey, just take a picture of your notes. Why make a graphic? Like, it's all right there.
Exactly. And it's like, in a way, when you look at it, was mainly for single game slates during the NFL season. I do it with hockey now, but I'm able to just write an article from start to finish. But to me, writing it down is my way to connect, right? You're seeing all my thoughts and ideas basically in real time as I wrote them down, sharing them to you with projections and their salaries and stuff, and little tidbits and little notes, throughout the season with each bottom of the barrel and everything. So I think it's great. I've said this a million times. Hopefully, if someone's listening or watching this now, you don't go, this guy says the same thing over and over again. But to me, writing stuff down, it just helps me connect with folks, and it helps me tell folks this is what I'm up to. And there's no stone unturned, right? No smoke and mirrors. I'm not trying to get over on folks. What you see is what you get. And again, that's I love to meet anybody kind of like that as well.
Oh, that's great. And you mentioned therapy earlier on as we were talking, so I kind of wanted to travel down that path. So it feels like there's been a lot more support recently for therapy as a way to help cope with mental health challenges. However, there still seems to be a stigma for many around therapy. Personally, I thought there was a stigma around it until I went myself. So how do you think we can continue to erode that stigma around therapy?
It's pretty simple. Keep talking about it. Keep sharing it. That's the whole thing right here, right? We're talking years ago when our parents were our age, when our parents were kids. I mean, heck, my late father, he passed away in his very early 50s, and we're talking born and raised in the 60s and the 70s. And that was that whole, rub some dirt on it, be a man. You don't have to share your feelings. You're not supposed to cry. I mean, that's how that old generation was. And as the time has gone by, we're kind of, I don't want to say breaking the cycle, but I'm just saying we as long as you talk about it openly and honestly within reason, right? Then everything should, in a perfect world, Zach, if the more we talk about it and say, look, you know what? I'm not a perfect human being. I do this, I do that. I'm married. I have kids. I'm a doctor. I'm an astronaut. It doesn't matter to me, but I have a little bit, I have down moments in my life. I'm bummed out about X, Y, and Z, and I share it to my wife, or I share it to a trained professional, or heck, I go to a support group meeting, whether it's Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. There are a tons of different support groups. And again, just getting it out in the open and not keeping it inside. I had an old sponsor of mine. He passed away recently. He told me, secrets make you sick. And the more you think about it, that's nothing profound. I didn't just make that up, but it's true. And you hang on to things and you go, oh my God, that's right. Because all this time I got all these secrets, and I robbed this guy to pay this guy. And then I went back like all the nonsense and lies and bad deeds you did, you keep it in, and you're going to repeat those same things because you haven't had an outlet to kind of, vomit it out in a way, for lack of a better term, and just share it with folks and get it out. So the more we keep talking about it, and the more times you see a broadcast, anybody talking about mental health, and shout out to Mike Huff and Anthony. They do the Hunter, what the heck is his name? Hayden Hurst, Potathon, where they talk about mental health. That's an outstanding kind of get together where people from all over talk and they get stuff out and they bring it to the forefront. Because if you don't talk about something, let's say, it kind of gets swept under the rug. Or if you don't say, yeah, I'm having a tough time right now, nobody's going to know that you're down and out, or that you're harming yourself, things like that here. So the more we talk about it and share with it, the more people can see. And again, if you ever go fishing, right, if you put 100 hooks in the water, you're going to catch more fish than if you put one hook in the water. So getting it out in the open and sharing it with the universe. I know that sounds corny, but sharing it out loud, maybe one person would reach out and go, hey, yeah, I'm the same way. Let's talk. Let's exchange phone numbers. So to get rid of the stigma, we got to keep sharing it, because let's be honest here, mental health and addiction and alcoholism, this stuff isn't going away anytime soon, if ever here. So we need to adapt and make better decisions with how we can, better suit our lives with what we're doing here.
Yeah, no, and I would say this discussion has not been normalized yet, but if more people shared their experiences with going to therapy or dealing with whatever mental problems they're dealing with, I think people would realize that a lot more people are similar than they realize, and that we're all probably going through very similar challenges, and we just don't know it because we don't talk about it. And I didn't know that my friend was dealing with this because I never asked, and he never told me, or she never told me. But I'm
Agree.
like, hey, I've been going to therapy. It's been helping me a lot. They're like, oh, really? So have I. Or, oh, I've thought about it. What do you think? And then you have that conversation, and you realize that there's no negative to it. Like you're not weird. There's nothing wrong with you.
No.
You just need some assistance, and you just need to, like you say, kind of speak your truth, share some emotions, and help talk it through with somebody, and that will really,
Yeah.
I think, really make a difference and help you out a lot.
It's just about having an outlet, right? And again, I know that we're all different, person to person, male, female. We're all different. We're all cut from a different cloth. We all deal with the ups and downs and the joys and the harmful stuff and the anger and the anxiety in different ways. And I fully understand not everybody wants to be open and saying, yeah, 10 years ago, I stole from my parents. I was homeless. I was living under a bridge. You don't have to, and that's fine. Your truth, as you put it, Zach, is your truth. You can share it and get it out in the open however you want. And I respect anybody, from start to finish, as I said, whether you're sharing with a trained professional, whether you're sharing with your parents, your boss. I don't know what kind of outlet you have, but to me, what I'm saying out loud here is just get it out any way you can. If you feel weird or you just can't pull the trigger on kind of going in for some help, write it down in a journal. I've had that happen before, where you have to make amends. There's one of the steps in the 12 steps is make amends to where you were wrong and what you can do. Well, I harmed my grandma, in an odd way, took some money from her purse. We're talking like 15 years ago. And while I was getting sober in treatment, she passed away. So that was a hard thing for me to face, because my grandma, I would have sat down in front of her. She had already forgiven me. So my mom and dad said, but not to talk to her, to tell her that what was hard for me. And at the time in treatment, I had a therapist. I'm still friends with her to this day. She said, you know what? Everything you wanted to say to her, just write it down on a piece of paper. Read it out loud alone. Read it out loud to me. And then you burn it, and boom, it goes into the universe, and you can like absolve yourself from that thing. So I do that all the time to this day. Granted, I'm not really making any amends like that anymore. Thankfully, that past is gone. But you know what? If something silly happens, and you know what, Zach, I really want to punch you in the face, and I'll write it down, I'll burn it, and boom, the feeling is gone. It's getting it out any possible way you can within reason.
Oh, that's great advice. And I want to change gears a little bit. Still talking about you though. So you volunteer a lot of your time for Special Olympics. I see your posts online, and honestly, they're very inspiring, very touching, and I think it seems like a really cool experience. So can you share maybe one of your favorite memories so far from your experience with Special Olympics?
Yeah, there's a ton of them, and again, I never. How do you know, like, when you're going to have an opportunity? People will say that all the time. A human being is faced with like, just put a number on it, 1,000 opportunities in a day, and it's up to us as the individual to see them, and seize them as we see fit. And when I switched over from working at the drug and alcohol inpatient treatment center, there was an opening. A friend reached out and goes, "There's an opening here, a case manager, behavioral therapy at a place for mentally and physically impaired adults." And so I grabbed the hold of that one. And as the time progressed, I was hey, Chris, I coach a softball team. Or, hey, Chris, you want to coach a Special Olympics basketball team? And without hesitation, I said yes, because again, anything I do, this is not all good. I go right in, whether it's, collecting comic books or cards, I go all in. And so when it comes to Special Olympics, it's an unbelievable situation. And let's go back like 3 years. Here in Michigan, there's the semifinals, the regionals, and the kids won, the guys won, guys and girls. They won. They went 3-0 in a state tournament, and therefore they were able to play in the state finals. And we all got to go up north to a Coolidge College, stayed the weekend there, and you would have thought these kids were pro athletes. You would have thought they're playing in the NBA. I mean, everything they did, from waking up and having breakfast served, and I mean, it was unbelievable. And so not only one time, but it was a weekend thing where everything that happened just smiled, like their faces would hurt, from smiling so hard. So to me, it's all about the joy and adulation that I see from others around me. So to me, it'd probably be the state finals tournament where they took second place, unfortunately. But hey, they all got a medal, and it was they're still talking about it 2-3 years later.
No, that's fantastic. And how can anyone get involved or volunteer for Special Olympics?
Yeah, you can go to, I believe it's specialolympics.org, and they have when we're done with the broadcast, I can kind of, write it down, take a screenshot, and if you want to share with this broadcast, have at it here. But you go to specialolympics.org, and boom, it's all laid out in front of you. Volunteer your time, and it's pretty easy peasy, right? You take your background check, that's a done deal, and you go through, and there's little, I want to say trainings. I don't want to say test, but trainings. You put your name in, what area you're from, and boom, they will call you back. And they're always willing to take on folks to volunteer. They're always looking for donations. We know how that is. A lot of these kids, softball, basketball, every area is different. I believe I'm in area 33, and some of the teams here are hurting for basketball jerseys. So people donate their time, they donate their money. So to me, you would go to specialolympics.org and just follow the prompts there. You can volunteer in any way possible. You can hold the water bottle. You can write down the stat line here, or you can just jump in with being a coach, whatever is whatever you're looking for. Excuse me.
Oh, that's fantastic. I appreciate you sharing that. And I'm excited to see what other experiences you share with us. It's been a lot of fun. So the fantasy sports space is growing rapidly, which is great. There's a lot of people out there creating a lot of diverse content on lots of different platforms now. So do you have one piece of advice for anyone that is thinking about creating content, or maybe they just got started?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you're right. There's a ton. Before we started this broadcast, before we were recording, pull the curtain back, you go, man, every day there's new folks popping up, and boom, they're there, 100,000 followers, or, this is day one right now, and boom. I would say, you're going to get a lot of good advice, but unfortunately, you're going to get a lot of bad advice, negligent advice here. To me, if I'm going to do something, as I stated not too long ago, I'm going to go all in, right? That's certain cases. But if you're going to, start creating content, broadcasting, writing, do it with such a vigor where you just enjoy waking up in the morning. Because again, I've said this across the board a lot of times. If the morning I wake up and I'm like, you know what, the DFS just isn't fun anymore, I will honestly walk away. So I would never want to put myself in a situation where it's a burden, where it's like, oh gosh, I got to write today, I got to broadcast today. And we know I've said that stuff all the time, right? And it's just, getting it out there and being open. So follow your highest passions, whether it's DFS, whether it's rankings, whether it's cricket. I mean, I know there's certain websites that look for cricket DFS players. So do what you need to do to kind of feed that passion inside of you, and boom, go from there. For me, obviously, it's DFS. For some folks, it's rankings. For some folks, it's waiver wire articles. For some folks, it's IDP. So right off the bat, if you're going to wake up Monday morning and start creating something, I'd like to think you kind of already know what area you're going to go into, DFS, IDP, whatever. And when you do, just go all in on that. And I'm telling you, as you explore it, you'll find out more little quips about yourself and more ideas that you didn't even know you had there. So follow your gut, follow your heart. Very corny. All our mothers tell us that when we're kids, right? Follow your heart, Chris. Follow your soul. But it's true. As we get older, you'll realize, man, you cannot waste time. You can't wake up, waste time, and do something you hate and dislike, because then you're just miserable. And who wants to be miserable?
I appreciate that. Yeah. No, at the end of the day, hopefully this is fun if you're creating content. If it's not, maybe it's not for you. Maybe it is. I don't know. But yeah, it definitely seems to be better content when it's when you're having fun with it.
Yes.
Awesome. So now that was the last of we'll call them the hard-hitting questions. So I have some rapid-fire questions if you're game for them.
Absolutely. I'll tone it down. I tend to talk, and I'll be honest with you, Zach. I love triple play. I love Mendy, and this is fantastic here. So I get a little long in the tooth, if you understand what I'm saying.
No, we can go as long as you want. So this can be a one-word answer, or you can provide as much context as you need.
Okay. So how many people are tuning out right now?
So hypothetically, one of the 4 major American sports has to go away forever. So we're talking baseball, football, basketball, or hockey.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I mean, you can at me if you want, but it's NBA, it's basketball. I mean, hockey is just, I'm wearing the Red Wings hat. Football, we all know how popular that is, especially here in Detroit with the Lions. And baseball, I mean, hockey and baseball are probably 1A and 1B. People are shocked to find out football's just football to me. I'm not like a madman crazy in love with football. It's all about hockey and baseball to me. So see you later, basketball.
Fair enough. All right, here's a fun one. What 2 animals would you like to switch the sounds that they make?
Oh boy, that's wild. Have you ever heard I just saw it earlier off the top of my head, that like it's a cheetah, right? A cheetah or a mountain lion or a lynx, something like that. Like a mountain lion, lynx. They do this weird thing, because animals, big cats, they don't purr in the wild. It's basically a house cat thing. But when they're caught, like a jaguar or a panther, they do this weird high pitched squeak. Can you imagine, let's say, a hippopotamus purring like a cat, or a hippopotamus doing this weird squeak here? That would be wild, as they chomp down an entire watermelon in one bite.
I hope someone can put together a video of that and splice together some audio, because that sounds hilarious. All right, so if you could spend a day and hang out with any celebrity, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh geez, that's a good one. I mean, there's a few I could go, but right now at this moment in time, Ryan Reynolds seems like he's just an absolute blast to hang out with. You see, he's got this new movie out. I think it's like a Netflix only thing, where he's like himself when he goes back in time. And anything I've watched with him, going all the way back to like Betty White and Sandra Bullock, right? They did I mean, he just seems like an absolute gem of a human being, just a kind man, good human being, nice to his wife, nice to everybody around him. So I think Ryan Reynolds would be a blast. We could probably get into some trouble, but wouldn't that be the point?
There you go. Yeah, The Adam Project was the movie on Netflix, and
correct. Yes,
he does seem very well connected, working with a lot of people in different movies. So I'm sure he'd be a blast, and maybe even get to wear like the Deadpool costume or something.
Yeah. I wouldn't fill it out, but here we are. I'm a tall, skinny guy. So what are we gonna do? Get the foam padding around the biceps and obviously in the pants.
Yeah, it's movie magic, right?
Bingo.
If you could time travel, would you travel to the past or travel to the future?
Oh, that's a great question. I would not. You know what? The future might be too big of a burden, right? You go to the future and you see when you get there, everybody, not to be a bummer on this broadcast here, but you go to the future, who knows how the earth looks and what it holds, and everybody that you hold dear now, are they here? Are they gone? What happened? So to be honest with you, I wouldn't even bother with the future. I'm going to live it as I go. I would go all the way back to probably the Wild West days. I always say that because, when you watch all these shows, the first question, the Wild West, how do they go? How do they wipe when they go to the bathroom? They don't brush your teeth. They probably stink. But to me, going back to the Wild West would be fun only under the assumption that kind of you're invincible, kind of like Westworld, where you go back and you can just have a blast. Because again, getting in a gunfight at high noon, boom, right in front of the saloon would be fantastic. Robbing a bank on a horse, that would be fantastic. So I'd go back to the Wild West under the assumption, Zach, that I would be invincible. I could do as I please. No real, repercussions, no consequences. I'm going back to the Wild, Wild West.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And so for the last one, you live in Detroit, so I have to ask a car question, but it's going to have a little bit of a twist. If you were a transformer, what vehicle would you turn into?
Oh boy, I would probably say, again, I'm not really a car guy, right? I respect people that can, craft an engine from scratch, or they're into drag racing, things like that. I'm not really a car guy, but I would probably like to be a truck, right? You can use it as a tool. You can kind of, you'd morph into like this big thing here. Not a semi truck, because I know there is a semi truck transformer guy, just like a Ford 250, right? Those new Ford 250s are outstanding. So I'd like to transform into an F250, and then if need be, I can drive the sucker around and haul stuff, haul dirt, haul tools, whatever you want to do. So that's what I'd like to be, an F250.
Fun and practical. There you
go. Bingo. Who would have thought that?
So that's the last of my questions. So I really appreciate you being so open and honest and giving us a chance to kind of talk about mental health awareness and a little bit about your experiences. Can you share with everyone where they can find you and all of your great work?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to my Twitter at Detroit Beastie. Every morning I do my hockey DFS article, Hot Pucking Stacks. And that's not going to change throughout the season. We have baseball DFS coming up. There will be a daily article there too. And then, in the evening sometimes, a few days a week, I'm with Woodward Sports, Woodward Bets, just giving away some fun parlays, things along those lines. We're basically talking Detroit sports. Woodward is a major road, that goes from downtown all the way north here. So to me, it's nice to go out and share my DFS stuff and, kind of hang with other people. But when you bring it back home, I love to talk anything Detroit sports, pop culture here. So that's where you can find me. Just go to my Twitter page at Detroit Beastie. I'd like to think if you're looking for me, Zach, I'm not too hard to find.
Fantastic. So thanks again for your time. So this is Triple Play Fantasy. This is our 10th episode. It's been a blast getting to interview you and everyone else so far. And I'm excited for all the interviews to come in the off season. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any more shows. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead, like the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's the best way to support Triple Play Fantasy. And we really appreciate your time and have a great day.